and welcome back to Museum at Home. Now we are returning to ancient Greece today, and we are exploring what can we learn about the ancient Greek myths or stories from objects and from artifacts. Now myths are stories which have become embedded in history and culture. They are tales which were told by ancient civilizations to explain why things happened, how the world began, why the seasons changed, and why people behave in the way that they do. Now, the ancient Greeks left us with an enormous collection of myths, and we still tell many of them today. You might have heard of Heracles, the legendary hero who performed 12 tasks, including killing the hydra and capturing the three-headed dog Cerberus, or the hero Theseus, who entered the labyrinth to kill the Minotaur, a terrifying half-man, half-bull monster, or perhaps Perseus, who killed Medusa, the Gorgon who had snakes for hair and who could kill by just looking at a person. These stories, these myths, are full of good and evil, of heroes and monsters, fear, bravery, and love. We still tell many of these myths today, and we can find them in films, in literature, in books. Like all the best stories, they stay with us for years. Now, Greek myths can also tell us about the ancient Greeks and the gods and the goddesses. Ancient Greeks believed that every aspect of their life was controlled by a god or a goddess, and that gods watched over them. They built temples to honour the gods, and we can still see the remains of these temples even now. But the gods behaved very often in similar ways to human beings, and ancient Greek myths are absolutely full of stories of their jealousy, their pettiness, their anger, and their cruelty. Now, the 12 main gods were believed to live on the top of Mount Olympus, and you might recognise some of their names. Zeus, the leader of the gods, Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, Athena, the goddess of wisdom, Ares, the god of warfare, and Apollo, the god of the sun, of music and the arts. Now that is just some of them. The gods would determine the fate of humans down below on Earth. And each god was responsible for a particular aspect of human life or an aspect of nature itself. Now we are going to use some of the artifacts that are held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York in the United States to explore one particular story today, the story of Persephone and the Underworld. Now, that story is something that the ancient Greeks used to use to explain why the seasons changed. So first of all, have a look at this hydria or water jar. Can you see 3 figures on the jar? Well, one of them is in a chariot and 2 of them are standing aside. Now the 2 standing are women, and they are Demeter and her daughter Persephone. Now Demeter is the ancient Greek goddess of harvest, of crops and of the seasons, and ancient Greeks believed that she lived on the top of Mount Olympus with the other gods and with her daughter Persephone. Look at their robes and look at their hair. Can you see that they are wearing hair decorations and circlets? Now that was a very popular style for ancient Greek women at the time that this was made. Can you see that the woman on the left is holding something? What is it? Well, these are crops, and Demeter is explaining to the central figure how to grow grains. Now, according to this story, one day Persephone was alone on Mount Olympus when suddenly the god of the underworld, Hades, appeared before her. Now, the ancient Greeks believed that Hades lived deep below the earth, where the souls of the dead were sent. Hades, the god of the underworld, had fallen in love with Persephone from afar, and when he appeared, he proclaimed his love, and he stole her away to the underworld. Now, that part of the story can be seen on this hydria. Can you spot the chariot in the middle? Well, that is the chariot of Hades, and he is taking Persephone away to the underworld. All the other gods are depicted around them. Now, can you spot the woman with her arms outstretched? Perhaps this could be Demeter, unhappy that her daughter has been stolen away. Now, Demeter searched the earth for her daughter, but she couldn't find her anywhere. Eventually, she went off to see Zeus, the king of the gods, and demanded to know where her daughter was being kept. And when she discovered the truth that Hades had stolen her away to the underworld, she was distraught, and the earth became dark and barren. No crops would grow, not when the god of harvests was unhappy. Meanwhile, Persephone was unhappy in the underworld. She refused to eat anything, knowing that if she did, she would have to stay in the underworld forever. But after several days, she was so hungry, so she took a piece of the pomegranate fruit and ate just 6 seeds. But that was enough. She had eaten the food of the underworld, and she was told that she would have to stay there forever. But Zeus could see that the earth was becoming dark and cold, and so he made a decision. Because Persephone had only eaten 6 seeds of the pomegranate, she would spend 6 months every year living in the underworld with Hades. But for the other 6 months of the year, she would spend them with her mother, Demeter. So Persephone grew used to her new life, spending half a year with Hades and half the year in the sunshine with her mother. And Demeter, her mother, would spend half the year missing her daughter, knowing that she was far away in the underworld, and half a year in happiness with her child. Now, this crater or bowl shows the moment that Persephone returns to her mother for the first time. Can you spot her emerging from a crack in the earth? You can see that just at the base of the bowl. Now, she is being led by another figure, and that figure is Hermes, the messenger of the gods. On the right, can you spot another woman? Well, that is Demeter, ready to welcome her daughter back with open arms in the land of the living. And that is how the ancient Greeks explained the changing of the seasons. The earth is cold and bare, and crops can't grow for 6 months of the year, the autumn and the winter, because those are the months where Demeter is missing her daughter Persephone. But spring and summer, they are when the mother and the daughter are reunited. And so the earth is full of happiness, and the sun shines and the crops grow. So we can use these amazing pieces of ancient Greek pottery to learn all about ancient Greek stories. If you would like to do some follow-up activities on this topic, all you need to do is to visit the Museums at Home website or click on the link in the description of this YouTube video. Now, next time, we will be looking at the amazing world of medieval manuscripts. We'll be looking at some examples and we'll be finding more about the society that created them. So, see you next time for Museum